Hello YouTube, my name is Octopus Joey, and it's been a while since I've used my green screen, so here it goes. Clearly I have not used this thing in a while. Why do I have all of these? Ah, this one works perfectly. Hello YouTube, my name is Octopus Joey. I said that already, but welcome to my first series review. This may not be considered a real series, but I'm going to be talking about every Spongebob game made by Heavy Iron Studios. That is, Spongebob Battle for Bikini Bottom, the Spongebob movie video game, and Spongebob Truth or Square. I usually refer to these three games as the Spongebob and Heavy Iron series. Now, if you haven't played these three games, you may be wondering, why these three games specifically? There are a lot of Spongebob games out there. Well, I'll get into that. I'm going to start by reviewing what is generally considered the best Spongebob game ever made, and the earliest of these three games, Spongebob Battle for Bikini Bottom. Now, the story is stupid, yet hilarious. Plankton builds a big robot-making machine called the Duplicatatron 3000, which he uses to make an army of robots. But whoops, he accidentally flipped the obey switch to don't obey, so he gets kicked out of his own restaurant and the robots start terrorizing Bikini Bottom. Meanwhile, SpongeBob and Patrick are playing with toy robots, and they wish they had real robots to play with. When they wake up the next day, they think they're the reason for the robots terrorizing the town, so it's up to them to stop them. You play as SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy. They have their different traits, such as SpongeBob having the unlockable Bubble Bowl and Cruise Bubble moves, Patrick being able to throw stuff, and Sandy being able to swing on floating Texas thingies. I gotta say, everything about the controls is perfect. The movement feels very natural, almost nothing gets in the way of the camera. Throwing things in specific places is made easier with a pointer indicator, same for the swinging. Speaking of swinging, I can honestly say that the swinging in this game feels much better than The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker's Grappling Hook. With the Grappling Hook, you have to select the item, point it at something, and then press the item button again. In this game, you see an arrow pointing at something you can swing on, and you press one button. The game arguably has better controls than The Wind Waker. However, you can't sidle in this game. The combat feels great. With SpongeBob, you hit robots with a bubble wand, which is basically a spinning attack that hits everything around you. Not too overpowered, but not too underpowered. Patrick hits robots with his belly, and it also feels very natural and very satisfying. Sandy can hit things with a karate chop, also very natural and satisfying. Your main objective is to collect golden spatulas, which are used to unlock other levels, which will eventually get you to the chum bucket. You also collect shiny objects, which you can use to buy more golden spatulas, or unlock certain things in the levels. You also collect Patrick's socks, which are kinda like blue coins in Super Mario Sunshine. Collect 10 of them and trade them for a golden spatula. If I had to compare this to another game, I'd say it's linear Banjo Sunshine. What I mean by this is, each level has a set path for you to take while giving you stuff to do along the way to get more golden spatulas or socks. The graphics in this game are very faithful to the cartoon, however the shading could have been a little better in some places. The writing in this game is hilarious, which is to be expected because this game was released before Season 4 of SpongeBob. Getting from level to level is very easy because you can just use the menu to go to almost any point in the game you've already been. The music in this game is awesome. Some tracks, like the Jellyfish Fields music, are very catchy and faithful to the cartoon, while others, like the industrial part music, are amazing and fit in perfectly with the level you're playing. If I really had to complain about anything, I'd say while the game is big, it's pretty easy to breeze through within just a couple of days. Not to say it isn't challenging, but it could have been a little harder. Here's my final rating. Next up, the SpongeBob movie video game. The story is the same as the movie. SpongeBob isn't promoted, so he goes to Shell City and turns into a real sponge because lamp. Something like that. Now, some of you may be thinking,
This game is just a cash-in because it uses some of the same things as in Battle for Bikini Bottom.
To which I must reply, it has its similarities to Battle for Bikini Bottom, such as having manliness points instead of shiny objects, and goofy goober tokens instead of golden spatulas, but if you play it, it's a different game. While it does reuse a lot of stuff, it does introduce a lot of stuff. For example, Patrick can do cartwheels. In all seriousness, it's a very fun and satisfying move. You can also drive a Krabby Patty. It makes more sense if you've seen the movie. Instead of collecting socks, you collect treasure chests which unlock extras such as sound packs, different costumes, concept art, and more. And your currency collectible serves a different function this time. This time you can use it to upgrade your attacks and your health. There are also slide levels which are a little bit like the slides in Super Mario 64, only much bigger. There are also minigames within levels. There are combat challenges, Spongebob challenges, guitar challenges, and floating block challenges. The arena challenges are kinda but the last one is pretty intense. Pretty difficult stuff. The floating block challenges are pretty fun, and so are the Spongebob challenges, although they are pretty hard. Speaking of hard, this game is a lot more challenging than Battle for Bikini Bottom. So if you want a game that's kinda like Battle for Bikini Bottom but more challenging, buy this game. The soundtrack is great, but it isn't as faithful to the series as the one in Battle for Bikini Bottom. But that doesn't mean it's not memorable. It's very memorable. I don't remember a single track in this game I don't remember. Wait a minute. Also, I don't know if this is only on the GameCube version because it's the only one I've played, but it's possible for the loading screen to get stuck. It's rare, but it can happen. However, the game automatically saves every time you get a Goofy Goober token, so it's forgivable. Just remember to save after unlocking extras or upgrading certain stats. Here's my final rating.
Last but not popular, SpongeBob Truth or Square. Now, it's no secret that SpongeBob was gonna end after the movie, but Nickelodeon didn't want to end it because it was their biggest moneymaker. Most fans can agree that SpongeBob went majorly downhill after the movie. This made a lot of SpongeBob fans, including myself, mad at Nickelodeon for turning one of the best shows ever made into a simple cash-in. SpongeBob changed after the movie. Some people say it's because Steven Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob, left the show after the movie, but some say he never actually left at all. Some say it's because of the new writers. No one really knows for sure. Either way, we got some really terrible episodes such as The Splinter, Hide and Then What Happens, Spongehenge, and of course, the overhyped 10th anniversary special, Truth or Square. To be fair, the episode isn't that bad, but the fact that it was hyped as this big 10th anniversary special made it that much worse. As far as the game goes, it's not horrible, but it's not great. The story is, SpongeBob lost the secret Krabby Patty formula, but spoiler alert, it turns out it was in his pocket. But spoiler alert, it was actually Mr. Krabs' pocket. Anyway, like you would expect, since it's a newer SpongeBob game, the writing is terrible. The story is also very repetitive. It's just, I remember where I put it! I don't remember where I put it. Maybe a flashback will help me remember. 7 times. Every level is basically a flashback to one of SpongeBob's earlier memories, and honestly, I gotta give credit to whoever decided to only reference the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob with these flashbacks. These flashbacks include feeding the anchovies, the story of the hash-slinging slasher, Squidward being Santa, and more. And the loading screen always displays a trivia question about the show, and all of them are from seasons 1 through 3. In those ways, it's actually pretty faithful to the first 3 seasons. That aside, it seems like 1/3 of the game is tedious combat, and the rest of it is platforming, which ranges from to pretty cool. New to the game are power-ups. One of them makes SpongeBob a lot stronger until you get hit, and the rest of them make you smash through everything. Not much variety there. Now, instead of socks or extras to unlock, this game only lets you find concept art the way you did socks and extras.
However, you can use your currency item, now called happiness points, to buy new costumes for each character and upgrade your health. Now, in my opinion, the laziest part of the game is the sound. All of the music, and I do mean all of it, is reused either from Battle for Bikini Bottom, the movie video game, or the TV show. Some of it isn't even fitting. They got really lazy here. The camera is okay, but it is kinda awkward on the boss levels. Speaking of bosses, the bosses in this game are really boring and repetitive. Most of them have you hit it in a specific place 6 times, no progression, that's it. One exception being the final boss, which does have some progression, but not a lot. SpongeBob's lines get really repetitive in this game, especially when you're bouncing. What makes Battle for Bikini Bottom and the movie game so great is that they're both very faithful to the show, are full of secrets, have time put into them, and are overall good. But Truth or Square just feels kinda lacking. Overall, it's not a bad game, really, but it's no Battle for Bikini Bottom, and it's no SpongeBob movie game. Here's my final rating. In conclusion, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom and the SpongeBob movie video game are must-haves if you're a SpongeBob fan or a fan of 3D platformers. They put time, effort, and creativity into these games and made fantastic representations of one of the best cartoons ever made. SpongeBob Truth or Square, however, is lacking in a lot of ways, but if you really want another game that plays a little bit like Battle for Bikini Bottom, and you can see past its flaws, then go ahead and buy it. It's not the best SpongeBob game ever made, but it's not the worst either. I'm Octopus Joey. Bye.